First of all, you don't know me.
We're all about that high school drama girl, all about them high school queens. We'll take you for a ride in our comic girl, cheering for the right team. Drama queens, smart girl, rough girl, fashion but you're tough girl. You could sit with us, girl. Drama queens, drama queens, drama queens, drama queens, drama queens.
I loved this episode.
You guys, I am emotionally exhausted right now.
All these years later, you're still exhausted.
I feel every feeling.
Yeah, that was a lot of crying.
Yeah, it's a lot of crying. It's
a lot
every
of crying
scene.
this episode.
God, but yeah, every cell in my body still feels all of it. It's pathetic.
Wow,
this was big.
Yeah, they really, there was just so many untied things in the episode before, and there's still a lot of untied things, but it was nice how sometimes we've seen them do episodes where it's like they're drawing something out and they're not solving anything for us yet, but it still feels really boring. And this one they did a really nice job on because every piece of it felt interesting.
Everybody's dealing with a different catastrophe.
Yeah.
This was such a good episode. Season 5, episode 8. Please, please, please let me get what I want. Give him the synopsis, ladies, because it is gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Air date February 19, 2008. Peyton admits her true feelings to Lucas. Brooke makes a play for Owen, and Marvin tries to convince Millicent he's a better man than what she thinks he is. So Haley wrestles with whether or not to reveal the information that could ruin Lucas's relationship, and Nathan is put in a position that could end his whole marriage.
You think?
Yeah. And Lucas and Antoine face the coaching prospect of playing their season opener at a disadvantage. Directed by Paul Johansson, written by the fabulous Mike Daniels, who ended up marrying Michaela McManus, who plays Lindsay.
Like such a happy, gorgeous love story. By the way, Mike and Michaela got married. Brendan Kirsch, our basketball coach, who is also in this episode, and Lisa Goldstein, who plays Millicent, got married. We had so much.
There was real love.
Yes, cross-pollination.
Yeah, gorgeous, love that came out of this season in particular. My goodness, what an episode.
I just hope that Mike and Michaela's real engagement was better than this one, because this proposal sucked. I mean, and to his credit, he took like a sucky thing and like gave everybody really good words. And so by the end of that journey of the engagement, it's like, oh God, thank God these two are together. You know what I mean? Like I was feeling like, oh, thank God they worked this out, until Peyton knocks on the door and I have to snap back into reality and be like, oh, nuts. I forgot what side I was on.
Yep.
I mean, the first act was all like recap.
Yeah.
Were we saving money still?
Yeah, probably. But it's amazing that Mike, it just shows what a great writer Mike is, because it's amazing that he was able to take an episode that was full of recap and kind of several of the same type of scenes over and over and over again. I mean, especially for Peyton and Lucas.
Oh, God.
Do you know what I mean? Like you guys were covering one conversation, but like 6 different ways. And the fact that he made that so good, this is why people are bringing Mike Daniels in to write and run their shows, because he's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, he's so, so good. And, to the point of when you take a situation that can be so uncomfortable, i.e., I was doing a menial chore to get my mind off of how angry I was. Who hides a ring in a sock drawer? Like, you're like, oh, everything is so bad. This is bad, bad. And somehow, through the tears and the fight and the I'm done feeling like I'm not good enough, it does turn into a proposal that you're rooting for. And I had a moment while we were watching it where I was like, I hate this for her, but I want this to work. Like,
yeah.
Because when she smiled, it was real. Like,
she's so good.
When she's like crying, she's so happy when he finally asks. Oh my God, Lindsay is just so good.
I literally wrote down the joy on her face. This is played so well.
Yeah.
It worked.
And somehow I was trying to justify, I was like, I guess when you're a kid, you can be confused in your ex-girlfriend who you love and you kiss her back, but then you see the woman you love and you're just like, I got to throw myself into this so that I don't go down a trail that I don't want to go down. And like my brain was running through all the justifications of, is this okay? It's not. Like, it's not okay. But I kind of wanted it to be okay because I think there's so much chemistry between the two of them.
Yeah.
And the emotions were just so real.
Let's talk about the Lucas stuff. Because we all were like, oh, God, wrong thing to say. Because he does the same thing to Lindsay that he does to Peyton. Remember with Peyton? Yes. He was like, you don't think I can make it, right? That's why you don't want to marry me because you didn't think I could do it, you know? And then with Lindsay, he's like, I was waiting until I knew I had a second book in me because I know you don't want to be married to just the small town basketball coach. Like there is a nerve there. Yeah. And not saying it's a bad thing, but boyfriend has a soft spot and don't hit it. It's a bruise.
Well, he has such intense imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And, you know, so many artists do that it has a name, right? Like imposter syndrome is a term.
Is a thing. Yeah.
You know? But I wonder, like, is that his sort of like, I kind of want to roll my eyes at it and go, okay, is that the writers being annoying, being like, oh, the tortured artist, meh. Like the best artists are actually, you know, people who go to therapy and deal with their shit. But people think like, I've got to be this tortured artist. I've got to be this addict. I've got to be a mess. And part of me goes, is that writers romanticizing a tortured artist? Or is it, what's striking me in this moment, is it a really interesting thing for the brother who grew up on the quote unquote wrong side of the tracks, who's you know, single mom, struggled for his whole life? Is it an interesting thing for Lucas as a character to have this suffering, tortured artist persona because his brother, granted, yes, suffered an injury, has been dealing with this really terrible year, but like your brother's in the NBA and you're trying to write another book when your first book was about the girl that broke your heart? Like, I don't know. I'm having this like aha moment of, oh, does it track?
For sure. I mean, it's economic anxiety.
Absolutely tracks.
When you grow up a poor kid, man, I get butt hurt about stuff. Like I hate fashion. I hate fashion because my whole life I got made fun of for wearing hand-me-down clothes and high waters. Oh, those bitches at school made so much fun of me for wearing high water jeans because I would grow out of them so fast. And I just, as an adult, tense up about that shit. And so I can understand Lucas Scott being the kid who came from less, being like, don't you look at me like I'm not as much as everybody else. Like, don't pity me. You know, I am enough.
And knowing he's going to want to provide for a family and like not have Lindsay have to carry the financial burden the way that he saw his mom carry that burden. I think that's got to be a trigger point for him too, wanting to be able to also contribute to a household.
Well, I do like Lucas and Lindsay together. In a world where Peyton Sawyer's back with Jake Jagelski, they would have lived happily ever after and like had beautiful little bookie babies and like they'd have been great.
Yeah, they really are good together.
Yeah.
They are.
Oh, and Michaela's just so fun, you know? She's a good actress, but she's also just fun on set. When Peyton knocks at the door, she's so happy. Like, she can't wait to show Peyton that ring. She holds it up.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, in my notes, which are all like the quotes and the things so we can talk about them, just all in caps. And then Peyton. Just, it's the one row of caps in my whole note section. Oh, boy.
Dude.
You coming to apologize
Oh my God.
for what you did because he still loves you, and then her holding up a ring. I can't even look at you. I'm so uncomfortable.
Well, and Lucas looks like such a hangdog. You know, if he was into what he was doing, he would do like what Nathan does and give like a really firm, like just smile at Peyton and be like, hey, this is my life. Like make eye contact, own it. Have a nonverbal connection there. Instead, he's just like dodging her and looking real shifty.
He's just being a little boy.
Ugh. My
He's
guy.
just not ready to take responsibility for many things.
Why didn't he just say it's the ring that Keith gave to Karen? Like it's a family heirloom. It's not
It's Keith's ring.
Yeah, why didn't he say that?
because he's complicated.
Well, there
Yeah.
is also something about being 21.
Mm-hmm. I
And
just
it
wanted to get married so bad.
It happens in the moment. Y'all
Yeah.
are nodding and I'm nodding because we all did it.
Yeah.
It happens in the moment and you go, well, train's leaving the station. I better get on it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You think you have so much time when you're young that you're like, things will magically work themselves out. It's all going to be fine.
You also do this thing where you go, oh, if the scene from the movie is happening to me, it's happening, so it must be meaningful. We assign, if it's happening, it's because it's supposed to, rather
The
than
universe made
how
it
do I feel
happen.
about this? What do I want? Is
Yeah.
this right? Like it's very easy at 21 to go, well, here we are. So I'm gonna go with the flow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we certainly didn't unlearn. So how did we
Oh my
expect our
God.
characters to unlearn it?
Well, Haley figured it out. She's the only one asking questions and just being like, what is happening here?
The thing that kills me and that Mike wrote so beautifully is that Haley's asking all these questions of her friends
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't know to ask questions in her own house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it makes
Yeah.
what's happening in her house all the more upsetting when Nathan
Makes it
says,
insidious.
forget what you saw. Let it go.
Mm-hmm.
When all these things, because she's going, well, I'm good. It's like,
Yeah.
it's what you just showed us, Hilarie. It's like the person who doesn't see the guy in the window.
Yeah. Who is that? Yeah, I mean, I like that Haley wakes up. Like her and Nathan went to bed not so
Yeah.
great. And I like that moment of like rolling over and just checking in with each other.
It did make me wonder, though, when he was saying it's not your place to tell Lindsay. What, like, let's take a poll. What do you think? Do you think Haley should tell Lindsay?
No, I thought Haley did absolutely the right thing and go to Lucas and be like,
Yeah.
you're going to fix this.
Lucas first.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I thought, too.
I agree you start there, but I'm throwing a yellow card on the fucking soccer field, ladies. I hate this thing of it's not your place. Don't get involved.
Mhm.
I disagree.
What's your friend, though?
Well, that's it. Everybody will do the thing where they say, no, it's not your place. And then you know what happens is everyone in your life says, well, it's not my place. It's not my place. It's not my
Whose
place.
place is it?
Yeah.
That's it. It's why a car accident can happen and 40 people can be standing on the sidewalk going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And no one calls 911 until one person points and says, you call 911. You do this. People need a directive. And I will say that I think this notion that you shouldn't get involved is not cool because it's what allows people who are dishonest and shitty to their partners to get away with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think if it was like Junk and Fergie and those guys like talking to Lucas saying, hey man, that's not cool. He might brush that off, but Haley is his lifelong best friend and just cuts through the shit with a quickness.
Yeah, that's the whole reason you have friends. Like, sure, you're gonna have people to like hang out with, but there are supposed to be people in your life that will call you on things, and who are gonna step up and if you're in danger, they're gonna jump in for you and say like, "Hello, you're in danger. I got to tell you something."
And that's what you need is for people who say, "I love you enough to tell you that what you're doing is fucked."
Wait, are you calling Peyton danger? Because that sounds fun for me.
Peyton is danger.
You're in danger, right?
You're in danger, baby.
Yeah, I thought Haley, like, I was hoping that she would go to Lucas first and not go to Lindsay first, because That's her first priority in the friendship that she's been a part of for a long time. But
She doesn't even get a minute.
yeah, I mean, after a minute, like if Lucas really continued on down that road and never told Lindsay, I don't know what I would do if that was my friend. I think I'd probably be like, listen, I'm going to have to tell her because I'm friends with both of you guys. I can't just like sit here. So you got to tell her or I'm going to. Have you ever had to do that with a friend? Like if you don't tell with a friend's like somebody you found out was cheating, if you don't tell her, I'm going to.
No, I mean, no.
But that's the move, right? Like if you were put in that position,
Yeah.
that's the move. It has to be,
Yeah.
right?
Y'all, listen, I'm a huge Vanderpump Rules fan, and so I have had my fill of cheating this season. If you don't watch the show, it means nothing to you. But if you watch this terrible reality show, you're
I don't.
Sandoval's the devil because he cheated on Ariana. And so I'm more worked up about these strangers.
So what's wild is I don't watch it, but my friend Elizabeth, who has a phenomenal podcast, did a whole episode about this. And I was like, I'm watching your stuff. Tell me what happened. So I had her tell me about it. And then because you and Jeff watch it,
Love
and
it.
I have two friends, like two of my best friends, one in LA and you two in New York, who are obsessed with this shit. So all the Instagram algorithm serves me since it started this. And so I have never seen this show, and I know more about these people, more about the exposed timeline, more about the fact that these people cheated behind the woman's back when she was at a funeral. I know all this shit, and I have never seen one episode of a Real Housewives or a Vanderpump. I don't know if they're associated. I feel like she's on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Maybe she's not.
Yes.
I don't know. Okay, she is. Great. I know so much about this against my will.
I'm so glad we could give that to you.
Oh, against my will. But now that I know, I'm invested.
Because here's the deal. It always gets exposed, right? It always gets exposed down the line. And what I learned from the reunion special is that if you're on the side of keeping secrets for someone,
Oh boy.
you look like an asshole on expose day.
Yeah.
And so don't hide shit for your friends. Don't be an enabler. If something happens like once, like this Lucas Peyton thing in the office,
Yeah.
I don't know if I even consider that cheating, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Like that is a trauma bond that has a lot of
No,
like,
you are a nicer person than I am.
I'm also the bitch kissing him. So
That's true. You're making an excuse for your character.
Yeah,
I get that. I'm like, let me tell you what. If my partner made out with some, I'd be like, I'm gonna have to kill her.
we got to fight.
One of you has to die. Like it's gladiator times. Pick.
I know. It's super easy when it's fiction. It's really easy because we know these kids. We've watched them since they were little. They're just sorting it out. But when it's strangers on a reality show, I'm like, he's gonna die.
But that's also, remember we talked about that a while back, how you can excuse and humanize and have empathy for bad behavior on behalf of people you know and love, even if they're the characters you know and love. With strangers, we're just ready to like light them on fire.
Who's worse in this week's episode? Nathan, who's hiding some shit from his wife,
Oh boy.
or Lucas and Peyton, who are clearly headed down a dangerous path?
Y'all,
It's bad.
Nanny Carrie being like, you have paint on your face. It's on your eyelids.
And we can see that it's not.
It's not.
It's just, it's so right outside of his son's bedroom where he could have just gotten up for a second and poked his head out in the hallway and been like, I have to go to the bathroom or whatever. It's just, it's amazing to me. Amazing. And I really don't understand why Nathan seemed so confused. He just stood there looking really confused. And it's so not confusing to me.
No.
Did it make you mad to watch, Joy? Because
Yes,
obviously
it
I'm
did.
still in my Peyton body. Like in your Haley body, you're like, I'm gonna murder them.
Yes. It made me mad. It's like, stand up for your family, damn it.
Yeah. Push her down the stairs.
Push her away. And then put her in a taxi. Tell her to pack her bags and put her in
Get
a
out.
taxi. You need to leave tonight.
then the fact that you guys have that scene in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And what I thought they did so well in the edit was when he looks for you, you're looking at something. You're like in the fridge and then you're doing something on the kitchen island. And it feels like a missed connection.
Mm-hmm.
But my God, like.
He was like waiting to tell me. As soon as I came in, he was standing at the counter like,
yes,
I got to figure out how to say this. I got to figure out how to say it. And then Haley says the one thing that gives him an out. Some secrets are better left unsaid.
I loved it when you guys were in bed and you're like, I saw Lucas kiss Peyton. And he said, maybe it was just a friendly kiss. And so when Nanny Carey's like doing the fake paint shit, and I'm like, maybe this is just a friendly kiss. Maybe.
But it's also interesting that in that scene with you guys, he says, it's not your place. He needs to be man enough to tell her. And then at the end of the episode, when he's confronted with the opportunity to tell you, he can't. Because again, when you're in a situation, it's really hard to overcome your feelings and the conflict and the, I don't want to ruin a good thing for my family and she's having this time in her job and whatever it is. I'm also flattered by this, could be the subconscious choice. But when we look at other people, we're just like, should be easy. Say it, figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a really interesting thing that, again, to his credit, Mike Daniels as a writer was able to weave the ease that we have for seeing the clear black and white of someone else's situation. And then the minute that it's ours, it's so confusingly gray. He did a really good job for everyone in this episode of giving them like real emotional turmoil.
Well, I love Brooke Davis's emotional arc in this because it is kind of morally gray. She's everyone's great friend. Like Brooke shows up for everyone. And the one little piece of candy she wants for herself is this Owen thing. And he keeps pushing her on all of the superficiality that she's able to use as her armor. And it could go one of two ways. It could be gross and like super alpha male, like you're not in charge here. But the way it's crafted, it comes off like he actually does want to get to know this person and he doesn't care about the clothes and he doesn't care about the cars. Did you like doing this arc with Joe?
I loved it, especially because, you know, we were 5 seasons into this show and there was just this whole like idea that, you know, TV was amazing and that everything was amazing. And in a way, I actually felt a real parallel between what Brooke and Owen were doing on screen and what Peyton did with Molly, saying like, oh yeah, you read a story and you thought how romantic that he carried me out of the school shooting. I was trying not to bleed to death. The reality of a situation is not often how the story gets told. And what I loved about what the Brooke and Owen storyline is that Brooke Davis as a character was like, oh yeah, if I'm always going to be on display, I'm going to figure out how to use it because I can't admit that it makes me really uncomfortable. And it gave me this avenue to figure out like where my gratitude for our job was, but also where the discomfort with this sort of like always being expected to be on was. And in the stuff with Joe and I, even though for me as Sophia, there was conflict and confusion, I never felt permission to show that because the minute that, you know, you're on a quote unquote hit TV show and you say like, this is hard for me, people are like, shut up, you ungrateful asshole.
Yeah.
You know? But it was hard for all of us in a lot of ways. And I liked that my character leaned in and then had someone else saying, but that can't really be what makes you happy, right? I was like, whoa, this is cool.
I love seeing Brooke use all of her usual tricks and her cute flirtatious things in the backseat thing. You know, it's like every time she comes toward him, it's with all these tricks, or every time he tries to come get to know her, she busts him out and he's like, how do we weed out all this stuff? Because I actually really do want to get to know you. I think you're really worthwhile, but I'm having trouble getting past all of the things that you're throwing up to distract me from who you really are.
And what I loved was that when he came to the store, he was basically like, oh, you have a gimmick? I'm not going to gimmick. And then she was like, oh, baby boy, you haven't seen my gimmicks. You want to see them? I'm going to give you all the gimmicks. And then when I break you, I'm going to say, no, you said no gimmicks. Bye. Like I loved the energy of that.
But she didn't break him.
Oh, yes, she did.
No, he was totally playing her. He was like, fine, yeah, you win. Okay, I'll give you exactly what you want. And you're going to be too scared to actually go through with this.
Oh, see, I didn't feel that. I felt
100%. Oh, that's so funny.
In having done it, it was very, very much like, I remember the night in the car. It was like so visceral. Especially because she like makes a wisecrack about his car and he gets all mad about it, which was
get mad.
Macho.
Yeah.
He gets so mad. And the irony for me playing Brooke, not that Owen would have known it, but was like, my best friend drove this Comet. Like, you guys basically drive the same car. I don't give a shit about your car.
Owen and Peyton are a lot alike in a lot of ways.
No, they really are. And it tracks for us. And I just loved that there was this moment. And I remember being in it that night and just being, Joe and I talking about it and him being like, it's kind of great that in every way that he pokes her, she's just like, okay.
Until Brooke loses her mind and she says, what is the comment about the fugly giantess?
Oh my gosh, fugly giantess.
Oh God. I loved Fugly Giantess.
Fugly Giantess.
So much. Yeah. So much, because that's Brooke Davis breaking that wall a little bit.
All right, fine.
Just whoever this troll is. Yeah. I loved that, because then she pulls it together, but then stews about it with Jamie, which is so cute.
Oh, I loved that scene of you guys out there with the chocolate ice cream. It was so nice to see the town too.
Yeah. That scene for me with Jackson, like this whole season truly was like our season of being the best of friends. And like,
awesome.
I babysat him all the time. Like, he was just such a sweet kid. It was like a really precious moment. And then, of course, like everybody grows up, like, he started playing like local sports with other kids. I became less cool, but this was the year that I was like the cool big sister, and we had the best time. And probably one of the like top 5 sense memory experiences that I have from the whole show is that scene in that blue satin tank top and Jackson with chocolate ice cream all over his face and his little
so
green
happy
shirt. And like, we just had the best time. And I remember figuring out with him how that scene was going to go, and like little tricks to be like, hey, if you say it to me like this, remember that Joe said it like this, and this little boy figuring out how to do like comedic callbacks. And it was so great.
I love that.
What's under the clothes, Brooke Davis? I can't decide how I
so lucky
feel about that line.
I know, that's how I felt. I was like, I don't know if I love that they made a 6-year-old boy say that. I don't love it. But it was funny. I mean, it is real life, I guess. It's real life.
But that he could see it. Like, that the whole point, Owen's point was, what's under the persona of the fashion designer? and that this boy saw it.
Yes.
He saw Brooke's reaction to it.
Yeah, it was only really at the end of the episode that you were like, okay, she's going to pull out like this high school trick. And then,
Oh my God.
I mean, it's like a cold shower she gives Owen, just like, okay, bye.
See you soon.
Man, I think he was calling her bluff. I'm going to go down swinging on that
I
one.
was disappointed. I really thought she was going down. It was like, if everyone else is miserable, like,
At least we should get some little love.
yeah, she was such a good friend to Peyton. Like, she's been helping everybody out. She babysat all day. Like, let the girl hook up with the cute bartender.
It'll happen. Delayed gratification.
I will say, because you just said, the way that she shows up for Peyton, that's one of those other things that I have a visceral sense memory of, is that scene with us. And I remember getting into it. I remember, all the stuff we had to do to set up the fireplace. Cause like for our friends at home, these weren't real houses. That wasn't a real fireplace. It's like you have a fire safety team on set.
Yeah, it's a long tube, a big like can of gas, and a guy with a big mustache, usually with a cigarette dangling out of his mouth.
Exactly.
And like, oh, that scene was so special. And I remember when we were shooting it, because the house was built on a soundstage. So I was coming in from, outside, but there was no outside. There was no there. And opening that door and coming in, and you were like a raw nerve, and it was beautiful. And it made I was like instantly back there with you, and it made me want to cry, like, because you just were so present in this. I cannot believe I thought this was my story. And now I'm here, and he's engaged to someone else. And it was like, oh my God, it was so beautiful. And then we burned the book. Come on.
I'm all burn
So
that book.
good. Hilarie, you cried like 6 different ways in this episode. Somehow you managed to pull out a new emotion every time.
You guys know that's why I'm such a goober now, is because I'm never gonna cry again. I loved that scene. I loved it so much. I loved it when we did it. I love it 15 years later. I remember it so, so well. And I think it stands out to me so much because I don't let people touch me. I don't like people touching me. And I can do it because I know how to be a people pleaser. But people in my life don't touch me. And Brooke and Peyton are so physically connected with one another. It's a thing that I love because it makes it so singular. Like Peyton and I are the same that way. The scene of Peyton at her mother's grave all by herself or sitting on the pool table by herself, that's most like me. But when you have that special thing where it's like, oh, there's that one person that's allowed to touch you. My girlfriend Share Game is that person here where I live, where she doesn't care that I don't like to be touched. She pulls me into her big bosom and she's like, get in here. So it's, I can feel Peyton's reluctance to connect with a lot of people that way, but that she's just got that one mothering person. It's so important.
It's really interesting that you say that, because the thing that struck me, and we talked about it a little bit in our podcast world at the end of season 4, that in that finale episode, that house party, we had a real like holy shit experience together, you and I. And I remember how everything felt different going into season 5.
Yeah, if it was locked.
And it was like, oh my God, the cellular memory I have watching Brooke and Peyton be roommates and knowing how that felt for you and me, because it felt the closest to our initial like falling in love with each other at level 5, like season 1 friendship again.
Well, essentially it's what we were redoing. You guys, we got to come back after this 5-year gap and redo what we had done season 1 behind the scenes. Like, it's so meta and weird.
No, it's so weird. And like watching that moment, and we sit and we put the book in the fire, and like I wrap you up and you put your head on my shoulder, and I remember it. And just being like, I'm gonna hug you. And I'm still like that with you. You don't like to be touched, and I touch you all the time. I don't care.
Yeah, I think those people in your life are so important. Because if it was up to me, I would just be like, oh God, I don't know what to do with my body. Like, I need someone else to initiate.
But there's something so special about that. And I even think about like when we all did that prompt thing. What was it at? Where were we? It was when we did our first like big live thing together.
Oh yeah.
And we just like stood and hugged. Like there really is something about the people who've like been in it with you who can wrap you up when you need it and when you don't want it, when you actually need it. Like, and I could feel all of that in this episode. Like I could see it.
Yeah, everyone reaching for each other.
Yeah, like people needing to be together.
Joy, it makes me feel bad that your character is like isolated in a way. Like you're at odds with everyone, or you're just like too busy to hang out with Brooke. Was it not fun? I don't want to be dismissive of like what you were experiencing in that moment, that we got to do all this like feel good.
No, it's great. I love that for you guys. I mean, it's an iconic thing about this show that made people fall in love with it. And I mean, that friendship is reflected all over in girls everywhere. It's beautiful. I think they didn't quite know what to do with me. And I think we've talked about that before, where it's like, okay, well now she's married, she has a kid, she's a teacher. She's basically like a mom now. So what do we do with her?
Did you ever feel like some of that also came from the fact that Nathan and Haley were always so popular that like the fans were like, more Haley, more Haley, more Haley. And so in a way, they kind of were like, well, we just got to give them more of this. And the rest of us.
Yeah, they just wrote us into a corner.
Well, kind of. And like, by the way, I love watching Nathan and Haley.
Yeah.
And I love, to the point of what we talked about earlier, the way they're like the missed connections in this whole Nanny Carey storyline. They're so authentic. They're so important. But I do feel like in a way, because Nathan and Haley got married really young, Haley became
the adult.
so much of the adult.
Yeah.
And like, while the rest of us were still kind of doing dumb kid shit, you didn't get to do as much of it because your character was the wife, mom.
The mature one had to be mature. Yeah. And after Nathan, what he had been through with his accident, and I think Haley also, I don't think Nathan and Haley spent much time just like being BFF and getting to, it was always very romantic, and then struggling through her tour, and then struggling through his basketball in the college. And there were just always so many things that were coming at them. So I don't know, maybe that's what this next season is for, what's coming up. Not sure.
Y'all just need to lay in bed and watch Vanderpump Rules together.
That's it. We just need to, like, I want to see them be buddies. I do.
Take a lesson from the Morgan household and just watch reality TV.
Yeah.
I want to see them be easy.
Yeah, me too. So, but that's not going to happen any day soon.
And when they are easy, in a way, Haley in particular, because Nathan still got to kind of be one of the boys and a brother and whatever. And there were moments that the three of us got, especially at the start of the season when Nathan and Haley were in a rough patch. Yeah. And the girls got to be girls. But it does feel a little bit like the writers missed the opportunity for Haley's continued girlhood. Maybe because they were just so many dudes that they were like, well, the dudes are playing basketball, but like she's off being a mom.
Yeah, what do moms do? What does my mom do?
What do moms do?
Moms make sandwiches. Like, what? It's so weird.
That's what they think, I guess.
But Haley got a lot of, like, where we got to be roommates, where Brooke and Peyton got to have this sort of second adolescence. because Haley had a family, she got the producing. And then in the later seasons, like, you know, Hill, when you left, like, Haley got a sister, like Quinn came into the mix. And but Haley's world has really always revolved around family. And I wonder if subconsciously that came from, you know, her becoming the youngest wife and mom. I don't know. I've never really thought about it this way before, but now my brain is spinning.
I haven't either.
All the girls I know that had babies in high school are like the spiciest, most fun bitches. Like
For sure.
Haley could have been spicy, man.
Yeah, there's a lot they could have done. It's not like I was lacking in personality, but I think I also, you know, as we know, he liked our boss liked to mirror what was going on in real life. And I was certainly in a personal place in my life where I felt isolated from everything and everyone. And so maybe kind of subconsciously I was bringing that to work as well. And maybe I was contributing to creating that in some subconscious way.
I mean, who knows? But our boss was also deeply reductive and only knew how to write women in certain ways. Like he wrote the character of Alice to be like this predatory boss. And then, she's fired. And guess what? Alice has slept with every single one of her employees, every guy at work, any woman. Like, oh, come on.
The ba-dump bump of that was so flat.
I was like, oh, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
She couldn't just be like a boss lady. She had to be a whore.
Of course.
Ugh.
And it was Rick with a toupee. And then it was Mouth's friend who was bald. And then it was Mouth also who was the nerdy guy. And then it was also so-and-so. Like, oh, man.
And good for Millie standing up for herself, because as much as I can't wait to see them find their way, the fact that he comes to her, and not that she would even know this, but I'm sure she could sense it. He comes to her on a rebound. I mean, I know he was thinking about her and he was quitting, but it was like, to me, it came across like he was reaching for her as like, maybe something good will come of this choice that I've made. Like, see, I made a good choice. Will you reward me for it? And it's like, no, I'm not your reward for making the right choice. I don't want to be the thing that makes you feel better about all the shitty stuff that just happened.
I super didn't like that Mouth went to Millie and said, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that guy. Hold on. I wrote it down. He wrote, I'm not that guy. But we saw what he did with Shelley. We saw how like creepy he was with Rachel half the time. Like Mouth has been that guy. And I had a conversation with my son driving to school the other day. I was just like, all right, you never tell people what you are. Don't say that you're a jock. Don't say that you're an artist. Don't say what you are. Just do the thing. Let other people decide what you are. Don't talk about it. Be about it. And Mouth, anytime someone says, I'm a good guy, that is a red flag.
Yeah, anytime anyone has to say,
I'm the good guy.
I'm a good person. I'm the good guy.
What I liked, though, is that she made a decision about how she felt. And then he said, yeah, I'm not living up to the person I think I am.
Well, you have the opportunity to grow for sure.
Yeah.
And that's it, is that he got to be a kid who was like, well, I've been caught up in a thing and I'm not proud of it. Let me be the person someone might be proud of. And I loved that when he realized he was being kind of gross and saying, no, I'm not this, I'm not this. Then he said, you know what? Let me give you a chance, or let me ask you to give me a chance. Let me show you who I am. And then suddenly it felt like we got our friend back. You know, he was like, let me take you to see this thing that's important to me. And then the big surprise is, I can see any sporting event in the world. Here's this ballet. Tell me about why you love this. I was like, oh God, Mike Daniels, that is good writing.
So good.
So romantic.
So good.
We're all products of our environment, you know? And when you're a kid, you don't get to choose your environment. But then you hit this age that our characters are at, and you do get to pick your environment. And Mouth had been in one that was toxic and making him toxic and awful. And so he's choosing a new environment. And Millie is just a fucking oasis.
Well, and by the way, Peyton does the same thing. However difficult it might be at the end of the episode when she walks into that gym and says, I'm just going to pretend like I watched this girl who lives through us. And you know what I'm going to do is, as hard as it is for me, I'm going to choose to be a person who's happy for you. And
that speech was my favorite moment in the whole episode.
I loved it.
It was so beautifully done.
It was gorgeous. Like, Hilarie, this episode for you was so good.
Yeah.
And I loved seeing this group of friends in many ways, through what's said and unsaid, through what Haley says to Lucas and challenges him, the advice she gets from Nathan, some of what she hides and some of what she calls out, some of what, Brooke is asking for versus holding close to the vest, what Peyton is admitting and then trying to teach from. Like, everyone is really, really in it. And it all gets encapsulated in that moment of, I don't know what the answer is, but what I'm going to do is show up for you and your happiness, even if it's hard for me. Like, everyone's just trying to figure out how to find it and how to witness it for other people. And I really did feel like Peyton, in a way, for all of our characters, became this guidepost in this episode. And maybe it's because you do so much voiceover and you read from Lucas's book. But I don't know. I felt like all of us against those passages were just like trying to find it. And it really made for this like cool arc that when you see that moment in the gym, you go like, everybody's doing the best they can and kind of failing, by the way. Like, everybody's really in a precarious position, but we're trying. And some people are succeeding, better than others. Mouth is doing something right by the end. And Haley and Nathan are conflicted. And Peyton's crying. And Lucas is engaged. And Brooke doesn't have sex with Owen. But like, everybody's trying.
Have sex with Owen.
Doesn't do it.
No, that thing that Mike wrote, it really resonated with me watching it all these years later, because when we lived in Wilmington, like, I was hanging out with bands. I was obsessed. There was this book called The Secret Lives of the Muses, and it was about all these women who had inspired great men. And at the time, there was no cooler thing I can think of than like being a muse, right? Like, that was just such like a sexy idea. And now that I'm an old gray-haired woman and I write books, I'm like, F that. Why would I ever be someone else's muse? Like, that's crazy. Yep. You have to be your own muse. And my favorite poet, Edna St. Vincent Millay, would do that. She would write love poetry about herself, about like, if I were a man, this is what I'd say about me. I'm fantastic.
So boss. I love that.
It's so sexy and cool. And so I loved that monologue about, you can write about yourself. You don't have to live and hope that someone else writes about you.
Yeah.
And
it's the right thing Peyton does with Lucas too. I think going in and saying, I'll do it. I'll let you go because I love you and I care about you. And ultimately, like, letting you go on your way, that releases her too. And that is self-care. Mm-hmm. That is her loving herself and trusting that there's something better coming along the way.
The only thing that's a little iffy. There's one iffy part.
What?
So like that leaf falls in the cemetery scene and like lands on Keith Scott's grave. And, it's a sign from her mom, like, be like Keith, right? We should all be more like Keith. But in Peyton, like, bringing that up to Lucas, it feels a scooch manipulative in being like, hey, I'm the Keith to your Karen. So you just do what you got to do, but I know you're going to come back to me.
I don't know if that's manipulative. It's honest. That's what she thinks. That's like how she sees it.
That's what she wants to be. It's a very like good thing to try to live up to, but she could have not said Uncle Keith, which is definitely like a like she could have kept that part to herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a deep cut. It's true, but it's a deep cut.
Yeah, she could have not said it. You're right.
You better come back to me before I die. I'm just saying.
That's terrible.
I know it's terrible, but y'all, kids are 21, 22-year-old kids are terrible. So we all have permission to just be nightmares.
Free pass.
I mean,
Now that I've pointed it out, you can't unsee it. Now you're
Yeah,
like, oh,
you're right.
you ruined it.
Yeah, totally. Okay, you at the end, though, on the pool table. I loved that choice. Was that you? Was that Paul? Did you
It's
walk in the room and it was all set
Paul.
up? I
That's
mean, I just
Paul.
thought everybody would always have you just at your desk drawing, and it was so
Yeah.
cool to see something different.
Not Paul. What's great about Paul, we've said it a million times, is that he already knew all the tricks. You know, he knew all the easy blocking, all the easy shit. And so Paul was just always up for a curveball. And that set was so fun. God, you guys, I loved when we would all be on that set together. It was just, yeah, a really easy, fun, sexy set. You could go hide in a corner somewhere.
Yeah, it was great.
I loved it.
yeah.
Well, why don't we have an office now with a pool table?
Sounds good to me.
All right. The episode ended with Lucas saying, why don't we get married right away?
Oh, yes.
That feels like a red flag to me.
Yeah.
Right? Lindsay's going to call him on it, surely, right?
I don't know. She's really excited. She's been wanting this for a while. And she finally got what she wanted. But she's so smart. I don't know. But as I recall, he's going to leave her at the altar. Isn't that what happens?
No, baby, she leaves him.
He leaves him.
She leaves him at the altar.
Yes.
Better that she leaves him. But
Oh my
still.
God. I mean, we don't want to ruin it for anyone, but
Yeah, you can put in spoiler alert if you want. If you, if you don't know, sorry.
it's been on television for like decades at this point. If they don't know.
It's like Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman don't end up together. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
We clearly have not seen it, though we have some memories. But if they haven't seen it, I don't know what else to say.
It's crazy how much I remember filming this season. Like, I remember every part. I remember the wedding. We had fun. We were being bitchy in those pews.
Yeah, it was fun.
Us sitting in those pews was so fun.
I loved it.
And the misdirects that come at the wedding were so fun. I will say, you get some foreshadowing of that. Like, maybe this is my honorable mention. I don't know. But Skills showing up to toast Luke on his engagement and being like, who is it?
Who is it? Which one?
Lindsay, could be Brooke at this point. That comedy was so good.
Strong.
What else did we miss? What did we miss? Anything?
I saw Jamie calling Nanny Carrie Mama.
I was just gonna say it. Jamie apologizes
I mean to
for
step on
calling
your-
Carrie. No.
Yeah.
We're just looking at the same part in our notes, which feels sparkly because that was so Nanny Carrie. That was a knife in my gut. I can't imagine how you felt because I didn't even play his mom and I was upset about it.
My first reaction was, that's not realistic. No kid's going to mistake the nanny for his mother. But I have to say, especially when Maria was younger, because her dad and I don't live together. So if she's been with him for like 3 weeks at a time, which sometimes the schedule is like that. When she comes back, within the same day, I'll pick her up from the airport or even the next day. And she'll have something. She'll be like, oh, Papa, Mom, because she's just been so used to having it come out of her mouth all the time.
Yeah.
It's totally realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not malicious. It's, it's just you're the person helping me. That is what I'm used to saying when I'm asking for help.
Yeah.
And what I loved is that, that's an innocent mix-up on the part of a little boy. And then that she, as the adult, takes it so far as to say, sometimes I pretend you're my kid. As this like little bonding aside, while, by the way, genius point that Mike wrote for Carrie to come into Clothes Over Bros and shop with Millicent, being like,
what
there's
was
this
that
boy
about?
I like, and I need and she's like, oh yeah, you want to go on a date like this top? Oh yeah. And it's full single white female. It's so,
Totally.
it is so
That makes me
good.
want to watch that movie again.
Oh, right? Because in a way to see Carrie in the background of a scene that's about to begin, you just go like, oh my God, she's everywhere. And then she's in the Clothes Over Bros top, and Haley calls and says, you're like, well, do I need to come home for dinner? And she's like, no, they're not here. And then they're upstairs. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Every single scene gave me the creeps in the best way.
Yeah.
Which she turns around, boys, dinner.
Dinner's ready. Oh,
The way it's unwinding.
oh boy.
We told you not to hire the hot nanny. We
I know.
told you.
Everybody was right.
We
You
sure
were
did.
all right.
Mhm.
Sure did.
All right, do we have any fan questions?
We do. I just saw one. Carla, she's asking, where did y'all film the outdoor scenes at the high school? And she's assuming any inside school scenes were on a set, which is correct. Yeah, the outdoor scenes were at, it was UNCW.
No, it's
University
Cape Fear
of
Community
Wilmington.
College.
Cape Fear Community College. Wait, wasn't it UNCW? Where do we go, UNCW? Oh, was it basketball games there?
Basketball games were at Laney.
Yeah.
Laney, hi.
And Burgaw.
UNCW, we did some like big, like Ernest Waddell and I did some like military stuff there.
Oh, okay.
Like we definitely shot stuff there outside to use that campus, but we were
Yeah.
downtown at Cape Fear Community College.
I remember the campus.
Yeah, Cape Fear downtown was like our biggest, because that's where the quad was.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we were. Cape Fear Community College.
Any bogey that just like happened to walk through a shot, thankfully would just look like an extra. Like it really was the perfect set for us because we would have more extras just because people were walking to class.
Did people have to sign waivers if they were walking through?
No,
Like,
because they put up those big signs.
oh,
And
yeah.
they would say, if you walk through this area, you consent to being on film,
Yeah.
which feels a little shady, but it's how they would do it.
I loved those days.
Spin a wheel?
I think so.
Yeah, it feels
This
like
was
it.
a good episode.
It was a really good episode, you guys.
Okay.
I hope I've made any sense on this podcast. Post show,
It's like 1 o'clock in the morning
where
for
am
you.
I? It is, but it's great. I love it. This is great. Guys, who's most likely to wait hours in the queue for Taylor Swift tickets?
What is in the queue? What does that mean?
In line. Standing in line.
Oh, like Brooke Davis is not going to wait in a
No.
line.
No.
Ever.
I don't even think maybe Millie would, but she also seems a little too practical for that.
I think Brooke Davis would be the one who denied waiting hours, but would.
You think? Or wouldn't she just send someone else to wait for her?
I don't know that she would trust someone else.
Is it Skills?
Skills.
It's the Skills who got notebooked. It's that Skills. It's the
Yeah.
Skills in love.
I mean, his favorite singer in real life is Phil Collins. Antoine
true.
loves Phil. He loves just like a power ballad, man.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah. So, hey, maybe he's our boy.
Okay. Yeah, he would do it. Wait, did anybody in our group go see the Taylor Swift show?
No, I didn't.
I was deeply actively trying, and then I had to move to London. So, no. I had to give up some tickets. I'm still upset about it.
Dude, Jeff and I just saw Sisters of Mercy, which is a very different kind of performance. If you're into like goth metal from the late 80s, early 90s,
Right.
it is the antithesis of Sweet Taylor.
Barbara
Oh, Barbara would do it with her girls.
in real life.
Yeah, that's the right answer. She would stand out there all fucking day to make sure her and those girls got in.
Yep. And she'd make friends with everybody in line. And she would probably buy food for everyone. She would have snacks.
They'd be like doing TikTok dances to Taylor
Yes.
Swift
Oh
songs.
my
She would teach the
God.
whole crowd.
Yes.
That is the perfect answer.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
I love it. What's next week?
Season 5, episode 9 for tonight. You're only here to know. Oh boy.
Sounds
All right.
fun.
Buckle up. Jig. All right.
Bye. Hey, thanks for listening.
Don't forget to leave us a review. You can also follow us on Instagram at Drama Queens OTH.
Or email us at dramaqueens@iheartradio.com. See you next time.
We're all about that high school drama girl, all about them high school queens. We'll take you for a ride in our comic girl.
Drama girl.
Cheering for the right team. Drama queens, smart girl, rough girl, fashion but you're tough girl. You could sit with us, girl. Drama queens, drama queens, drama queens. Drama queens, drama queens.